Happy Saturday to you fellas. Book author, dating coach AlanRogerCurrie here again. I'm still getting some feedback on my manually placed audible.com ads. Manually placed audible.com ads. Actually, again, the general response to those manually placed ads has been positive. But I had at least two guys that did have a minor criticism. I had at least two guys that had a minor criticism. They said, Alan, in your last two videos, you had the ad in your video 3 times. You had it at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. And they were like, the beginning is fine, no problem. The very end is fine, no problem. But the ad in the middle, man, if it's not a skippable ad, if it's not what's known as a skippable ad, then you shouldn't have it in the middle, man. It kind of fucks up the flow of your video. Kind of fucks up the flow of your video because it's not skippable. So here's what I'm going to do. For this video that I'm doing right now, I'm not going to have an ad, a manually placed ad in the middle, as I did in my last 2 uploaded videos. I'm going to just have it at the beginning, within the first 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning, and at the very end of the video, I'm going to have the ad. But I'm not going to have it in the middle. But yeah,
I love Audible because it's a lot of stress relief. It's a great escape.
So many great stories from amazing people. It makes me want to be better.
It changes your perspective. It makes you a different person.
See what listening to Audible can do for you.
BuzzFeed.com recently produced a list of 10 of the best and most controversial audiobooks that have influenced single, heterosexual men all across the world in what is known globally simply as the manosphere. Here are the top 10 audiobooks mentioned. Free Agent Lifestyle by Coach Greg Adams. The Game by Neil Strauss. How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. Models by Mark Manson. Mode 1 by AlanRogerCurrie. The Mystery Method by Eric von Markovic. No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. The Unplugged Alpha by Richard Cooper. And The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. Also, a few additional books earned an honorable mention selection. Those audiobooks were Dating Essentials for Men by Dr. Robert Glover. Dating Techniques in the 21st Century Social Media Age by Alpha Male Strategies. The Myth of Male Power by Dr. Warren Farrell. No Free Attention by AlanRogerCurrie. The Tactical Guide to Women by Dr. Sean T. Smith. The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. Please visit Amazon.com and Audible.com to learn more about these controversial but yet informative audiobooks authored by these various manosphere self-help gurus.
oh, I had a guy, if you follow me on Twitter, I had a guy that offered me an apology, speaking of my audiobooks, in relation to my Mode 1 audiobook. Yeah, there's this guy, his name is Paul. He's a podcaster himself. And he first was giving props to Rollo Tomassi's book, The Player's Handbook. but he mentioned my philosophy. He mentioned Mode 1, and he basically said something to the effect of, Mode 1 only works on a small percentage of women, but indirect game, basically Mode 2 and Mode 3, he said indirect game works on all women. Indirect game works on all women. And I fired back. I said, that ain't true. And even Rollo himself, I had to give Rollo credit. Even Rollo, even though he was giving a shout out to Rollo, even Rollo wrote a response comment saying, no, that's not true. It don't work on all women. Indirect game don't work on all women. I don't know why people think that. Because I've noticed ever since I've been in the manosphere, in the black manosphere, there's some guys who think when it comes to comparing direct verbal game to indirect verbal game, that indirect verbal game is far more effective than direct verbal game. That is not true. And I pointed that out on a number of videos. That is not true. Here's a basic deal without going into some type of lengthy digression. I already did a Patreon exclusive video about this. So my Patreon subscribers, they already know what I'm about to say. But for my non-Patreon subscribers, I'm going to break it down to you. Really, there's only two types of women that indirect verbal game, i.e. Mode 2 or Mode 3, works on. It's only two types of women that indirect verbal game, i.e. Mode 2 and Mode 3, works on. Number one, when you interacting with a woman that deep down wants you to be her next long-term boyfriend or future husband. That's number one woman that indirect verbal game works on. Is when you're dealing with a woman that deep down wants you to be her next long-term boyfriend or future husband. I would say indirect verbal game has the potential to be effective on a woman who's attracted to you enough to want to be in a long-term relationship with you. Like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with you, and at maximum, a husband-wife relationship with you. Those type of women, indirect game is effective on. Second type of woman that indirect verbal game is effective on is, well, I say there's three types of women. I said two types of women. I'm going to say it's three types of women. It's three types of women that indirect game works on. I already mentioned one. Is women who deep down want you to be their next long-term boyfriend or future husband. Number two is women that are interested in having sex with you, but they want you to invest a significant amount of time and or money into them first. Women who want to have sex with you, don't mind having sex with you, even casual sex. They don't mind having sex with you, but they want you to invest a high degree of time and or money into them first, which would be like what I call an erotic hypocrite. Yep, that would be the second type of women that indirect verbal game has the potential to work on. Third is a woman who's not really interested in having sex with you, but she wants to use you for your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, and or your financial and materialistic resources, which of course is what I call manipulative time waster. Number three, women that like men being indirect. That's the three women that like men being indirect, and that's the three women that indirect. Well, with the third group, the third type of woman, you ain't gonna get those women in bed. You ain't gonna get no manipulative time waster in bed. So technically, I would say indirect game don't work with them, but they like indirect game. Manipulative time wasters like indirect game. But you ain't gonna get them in bed because of it. But those first two, you can get in bed. But anyway, yeah, those first two women, that's the only two women you have the potential to get in bed as a result of using indirect verbal game, is women who want you as a boyfriend, fiance, and or husband, or women who don't mind having casual sex with you, but they want you to invest time and money into them before they allow you to have casual sex with them. On the flip side, here's where the women that direct verbal game works on the best. And this is what I told Paul on Twitter, is women whose number one objective is to engage in one or more episodes of short-term, non-monogamous casual sex. Every woman I've ever talked to, and I've talked about this again on previous videos, Every woman I've ever talked to about this have said this. Women, if their number one objective is simply to have casual sex with you, in other words, they have no real interest in being in a long-term relationship with you, that's when women want men to be direct. They want men to be more one, man. I ain't never had a woman that has said different. Seriously, I've never had a woman that has said different. Now, if a woman's number one objective is to engage in casual sex with you, and she's not really interested in you spending a lot of time with her prior to y'all having sex, or she's not really interested in you spending a lot of money on her prior to y'all having sex, that's when women want you to be more one. That's the number one time when women want men to be more one. Yep, is if their number one objective, because like, again, I always bring this up. The last time I had a number of women tell me that was way back about 4 years ago. It was in early November of 2018. I was in Los Angeles. And while I was there, I kind of conducted over about a 3-day period, I conducted what I would call a bunch of informal surveys based on conversations I had with approximately 15 women while I was in Los Angeles. It was the first week of November in 2018, about almost 4 years ago. And I talked to women about a bunch of different subjects. I talked to them about my 4 modes of verbal communication, mode 1 versus mode 2 versus mode 3 versus mode 4. I talked to them about stuff to do with alpha males versus beta males. What else did I talk to them about? A lot of stuff that I talk about on my videos. Just a lot of stuff to do with, relationship sex versus casual sex. What was something else? That was the main 3. Stuff to do with my 4 modes of behavior, stuff to do with relationship sex versus casual sex, stuff to do with alpha male behavior versus beta male behavior, and there's probably 1 or 2 other things I talked about. But just pretty much every woman I talked to said what I just said already, is that when their number one objective is casual sex, that's when they want a man to be more one. They actually said it will turn them off. If their objective is casual sex, they will actually get turned off if a man tries to be mode 2 or mode 3 with them. Now, all the women said that. They said if their objective is just casual sex and they have no interest in being in a relationship with a guy, then they said it will turn them off if a guy approaches them in a mode 2 or mode 3 manner. So anyway, but yeah, the guy, this is what another thing to do with this guy, Paul. Even though he apologized, I gave him respect for that. But man, I don't like people talking about my mode 1 approach philosophy if they don't own any of my books, man. That really, really irritates me. And by his own admission, this guy Paul on Twitter, he admitted, man, he was speaking on my mode 1 philosophy, but he didn't even own my book. He didn't even own my book. And sure enough, that's when he issued an apology. He went ahead and bought my mode 1 audiobook, and he wrote a tweet on Twitter saying, I now own AlanRogerCurrie's mode 1 audiobook, and I owe him an apology. I was wrong on a lot of things to do with his mode 1 approach, or something to that effect. Yeah, man. You should never be speaking on my mode 1 approach if you don't own my book. Ever. Plain and simple. Like, one thing he had said wrong about mode 1, he said that mode 1 was about going up to a woman and immediately saying something like, hey, my name is Alan, and I want to bang you. Are you down? And I ain't never went up to a woman in my life and said no goofy, corny shit like that. I ain't never, man, if you had a gun in my head, I wouldn't go up to a woman and say no goofy, corny shit like that. I ain't never went up to a woman and said something like, hey, my name is Alan, and I want to bang you. Are you down? Come on, man. I'm straightforward. I'm verbally bold and I'm straightforwardly honest, but one thing I'm not is goofy and corny. I'm a smooth motherfucker, if I say so myself. When I'm mode 1 and even mode 1 hardcore with women, man, my shit's smooth, man. My shit is smooth and seductive, man. I don't talk to women in a socially awkward, goofy, or corny manner, man. I've never done that in my life. Ever. I've never done that in my life. That's why even, I've said this on previous videos, that's why even women who have rejected me have given me props on my approach. I've had a number of women who, even though they wouldn't agree to have sex with me, they would end up saying, man, I love your approach. You like, if you want, who said again, verbal seduction story number 4, when I got rejected by the R&B singer. She rejected me, but she gave me 5 stars on my approach. I've had a lot of women who've done that, who've rejected me, but they still said, they was like, number one, they would always say, your approach is very verbally bold. That was the number one compliment I would get, is to do it, how bold my approach was. Secondly, was usually how smooth and seductive it was. A lot of women would say, you know, I'm not interested in sex, but damn, I got to give it to you. You smooth with your approach. Yeah, man, I don't say no goofy, corny shit to women like, hey, would you like to bang? Would you let me bang you? Are you down for me banging you? I mean, I would never say that in my fucking life. That's some corny shit, man. Anyway. What else? Oh, in respect to my last video, I got some feedback from quite a few guys that I guess I should have expected this. Well, first, let me pause right there. I forgot to mention on my last 2 videos, you know, this month represents the 10-year anniversary of my Possibility of Sex ebook. Yeah, the ebook version of my Possibility of Sex book. Yeah, I first released that book on October 1st of 2012, which was 10 years ago. 10 years ago this month. Yeah. That's my 5th audiobook that's at least 10 years old. Yeah. Yep. When it comes to my 3 different versions, which would be ebook, paperback, and audiobook, I have 5 ebooks that are a minimum of 10 years old. I have 3 paperbacks that are a minimum of 10 years old. And I don't have any audiobooks. The first audiobook that will be a minimum of 10 years old will be on July 31st of 2024, which will be just under 2 years from now. Yeah, July 31st of 2024 will be my first audiobook that will be at least 10 years old. But yeah, I have 5 ebooks that are at least 10 years old. In chronological order would be Mode 1. I first came out with my Mode 1 ebook in 1990, mid-May of 1999 is when I first came out with my Mode 1 ebook. Yeah, mid-May of 1999. Next audiobook, I'm sorry. Ebook. Yeah, the first Mode 1 ebook I came out with was in mid-May of 1999. Next ebook I came out with in chronological order was Mode 1 Hardcore. I came out with that in May of 2007. May of 2007 is when I came out with Mode 1 Hardcore. Next was Upfront and Straightforward, Let the Manipulative Game Players Know What You're Really Thinking. I came out with that in April of 2009. Then in December 2011, I came out with Ooh, Say It Again, Mastering the Fine Art of Verbal Seduction and Oral Sex. And then finally, The Possibility of Sex. Now, you remember, I think it was either last year or 2 years ago, I did a video talking about that Mode 1 is considered a timeless classic. A timeless classic. What's a timeless classic? Anytime you have an ebook, paperback, hardcover or audiobook that's a minimum of 10 years old. That's a minimum of 10 years old and is still ranked in the top 100 in its category on a regular or at least semi-regular basis on Amazon. That means you have a timeless classic. Yep. Anytime you got an ebook, paperback, hardcover, or audiobook that's either regularly or at least semi-regularly ranked in the top 100 in its category on Amazon, that means you have a timeless classic. Out of my ebooks, I would say at least 2 of my 5 ebooks have proven to be a timeless classic. Definitely Mo 1. Mo 1 is regularly, my 2006 version of Mo 1 is regularly ranked in the top 100 in the category of communication skills on Amazon. It's regularly ranked in the top 100. Like literally just earlier today. Yeah, this morning, it was ranked in the top 100. So the number 1 ebook of mine, I would say, is definitely in the top 100 is, there's a timeless classic, is Mo 1. Mo 1 Hardcore, I don't sell that on Amazon. So it can't be ranked. Yeah, I've never sold Mo 1 Hardcore on Amazon. I sell that directly from my website, directapproachdating.com. Directapproachdating.com. Yeah, I don't sell that on Amazon, Mo 1 Hardcore. Upfront and Straightforward is a timeless classic. Yep. That ebook is at least semi-regularly ranked in the top 100 in communication skills on Amazon. So I would say Upfront and Straightforward is a timeless classic. Ooh, say it again. Nah, honestly, no. It's not regularly ranked in the top 100 in this category. I don't even know if it's semi-regular. Now, the audiobook is. Now, when it comes to Ooh, Say It Again, my audiobook is regularly in the top 100 in this category, which is erotica, sex instruction, erotica-sex instruction. It's regularly ranked in the top 100, the audiobook version. But when it comes to the ebook version, no, not really. So I can't say it's a timeless classic as far as the ebook version. And Possibility of Sex is not a timeless classic either, because it's not, the ebook version is not regularly ranked in the top 100. But the thing I do remember, and I've mentioned this a couple times before, when I first came out with The Possibility of Sex, that book was a game changer, man. If I say something, that book was a game changer. Everybody was talking about that book within the first roughly 12 to 18 months after it first came out. Oh, man, I had everybody and their mama in the manosphere talking about that book. Like, I had some guys that ranked The Possibility of Sex as the first red pill aware book they ever read since they had been in the manosphere. That's facts. Yeah, a lot of guys ranked that book as the first really red pill book that they had ever read. Man, that book opened up a lot of eyes, man, about the manipulative and materialistic nature of women. The women who I refer to as manipulative time wasters. Yeah, man. I would say if I had to pick one chapter that blew a lot of people away, a lot of men, I should say, not people, but men, was chapter 9, the very last chapter, when I talked about, it's kind of, and this is what made me think of this. I was going to talk about my last video when I talked about Tom Brady and his wife potentially getting divorced. The main reason why chapter 9 was an eyebrow raiser for a lot of guys, particularly young guys, like say guys under 30. A lot of guys, your more blue pill, naive type guys, they honestly thought that women, the main motivation for women getting married was because they were genuinely in love with a guy. And next to being in love with a guy, they genuinely enjoyed having sex with a guy. And what I basically explained in that chapter 9, in The Possibility of Sex, is that that's far from the truth. to be honestly truthful, very few women get married for true love. And even more so, very few women get married for sexual enjoyment and satisfaction. And that's something I mentioned in my last video that I got some feedback. If you remember, I did the top 5 reasons, women's top 5 motivations for getting married. And I had at least a dozen guys write me. They said, Alan, I noticed when I was watching your video and you were talking about the top 5 motivations for women getting married, none of your top 5 reasons had to do with true love or sexual satisfaction. And I was kind of surprised by that. Like, none of your top 5 reasons had to do with true love or sexual satisfaction. Because they don't. And again, when the possibility of sex first came out, that was a hard pill for a lot of men to swallow, with the exception of men who were already red pilled to some degree. The only man that didn't really freak them out was men who were already red pilled to some degree. But, you know, a lot of men weren't really red pilled back in 2012. Most men in the manosphere, honestly, did not start becoming red pill until about 2014 and after. 2014 and after. That's when the vast majority of men in the manosphere and even black manosphere started becoming red pill. Was around 2014 and after. 2012, there was only a small percentage of men in the manosphere that were truly what I would call truly red pill. Yeah, because again, Possibility of Sex came out on October 1st of 2012. And yeah, there was only a small percentage of men that were truly red pill. The vast majority of men were naive, blue pill beta males. Were naive, blue pill beta males. And when they read my book, it blew them the fuck away. And again, specifically chapter 9, man. Yeah, man, women don't get married for not too many women, man, get married for true love, man. Just don't be real, man. I hate to shatter a lot of people's delusions, but it's only a small percentage of women that get married for true love. I wouldn't rank it in the top 5. And for damn sure, I wouldn't rank sexual enjoyment and satisfaction in the top 5. Women don't get married to be satisfied. So what woman needs to be married to be satisfied sexually? Particularly in the 21st century. Now, you can make an argument that back in the 1920s, 1930s, a woman might have needed to get married in order to get some dick. If she came from an innocent, good, Christian, wholesome family, yeah, you can make that argument in the first, 3 or 4 decades of the 20th century. But talking about the latter half of the 20th century and now the 21st century, what woman needs to get married to get some good dick? I mean, I'm just keeping it like 1,000, or as they say, keeping it a buck. What woman needs to get married to get some good dick? Zero. I'm dead serious on that. No woman needs to get married to get some good dick. I would venture to say no woman even needs to be in a relationship with a guy, period. Any type of long-term relationship with a guy, period, to get some good dick. A woman can get good dick. If a woman is reasonably attractive and has an above average degree of sex appeal, a woman can get some good dick anytime she wants to. She can get some good dick anytime she wants to. In case you didn't realize that, if you see me squinting and looking at my smartphone, I'm looking at how much. See, I have a little timer at the bottom. It lets me know how much time I've been recording. Because I try to keep all of my video podcasts under an hour. So I always occasionally check my timer. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, man. No woman needs to be married to get some good dick, man. Now, again, if you've already been red pill for a number of years by now, that's not raising your eyebrows. But if you happen to be, somewhat of a naive blue pill beta male listening to me right now, and you really didn't know that, you know that now. No woman gets married for good dick. You know, I was telling my wife, my mother, who was old school, she's from the silent generation, and she was pretty much a prude back in the day. She only had sex with one man her whole life, which was my father. But even my mother, I never thought of my mother as being red pill, but even my mother knew about the delineation between alpha males. And she didn't use those terms, but she knew about the delineation between alpha males and beta males when I was in my 20s. I never forget, when I was in my mid to late 20s, I had a conversation with my mother. And she was talking about another woman. And I'm going to be paraphrasing some of her words, but this is essentially what she said. She said, there's two men that women can choose to be with. And she was basically referring to alpha males and beta males, but she didn't use those terms. She said there's two men women can choose to be with. A man who's really good looking, sexy, really good and satisfying in bed, or a guy that's going to be a faithfully monogamous boyfriend and husband, good with children, and financially responsible. Which do you think falls under alpha and which do you think falls under beta? Yeah, again, she didn't use the specific terms, alpha and beta. She didn't know about those terms, but that's what she was essentially saying. She said all women, she was talking about for even women in her generation, she said, are going to go after one or going to gravitate towards one of these two guys, particularly for marriage. They either, in real blunt terms, she basically said they either going to go for the good-looking, good dick guy, or the guy that might not be that good-looking or sexy or might not be exceptional in bed, but he's going to be faithfully monogamous and always take care of her financially. And she was basically saying she went on to say there's pros and cons to each choice. There's pros and cons to each choice. She basically said, if a woman goes for the guy that's a combination of good looking, sexy, good in bed, she's probably going to have a good sex life, but that guy is going to cheat on her. He's not going to be faithful. And more than likely, he's going to be irresponsible with money. He's going to be erratically employed, have a lot of money related problems. On the flip side, she said, if a woman goes for the guy that's not too good looking, maybe not unattractive, but just maybe say average looking, and maybe no more than average in bed, her sex life might suffer a bit, but that guy's going to be monogamous to her. He's going to be good with kids, and he's going to take care of her financially. And that relates to those 5 motivations I was talking about when I was talking about Tom Brady and his wife, Giselle. Yeah, man. Women never get married for sex. Sex is never a woman's number 1 priority or even in her top 5 priorities for getting married. I listed all the reasons. The top 5 reasons why women get married. Again, if I had to do a recap, top 5 motivations why the average woman gets married. Number 1 is to validate their non-sexual attention and companionship. To validate the appeal of their non-sexual attention and companionship. In other words, when a woman has a wedding and gets married, that's her way of announcing to all her friends, relatives, and just general public, I found at least one man that's willing to spend time with me for more than just fucking. I found at least one man that's willing to spend time with me for more than just the purpose of fucking. And number 2, if kids are going to be a picture, I found at least one man that's not only willing to get me pregnant, but is willing to spend up to 18 years helping me raise those children. That's the number 1 reason why women get married, is to validate that. Number 2 reason, to recap, why women get married, is to avoid one of these 2 labels, to avoid the label of a broke, over the hill, washed up, post-wall slut, particularly if they're 40 years of age or older, really I would say 36 years of age older, if they're 36 years of age older, to avoid earning the label of a broke, washed up, over the hill, post-wall slut, or secondly, to avoid the label of a romantically lonely spinster. Slut and or spinster. That's the second most reason why women get married. See, a woman don't care if you call her a slut if she has a husband or a boyfriend. I mean, just keeping it real. Most women don't care if you call them a slut if they got a husband, a fiance, or a boyfriend, or a cohabitation partner. One of those four. If a woman has a husband, fiance, boyfriend, or a cohabitation partner, she don't care if you call her promiscuous or a slut. She really don't. The only time women really don't like to be called a slut is if they're single. Is if they ain't got no man in their life. That's the number one time that most women hate being called a slut, is if they're single. Women hate to be called a slut when they're single. But if a woman already got a man in her life, she's involved in a long-term relationship, the average woman could give a fuck if you call her a slut. Because her attitude is, I got a man. I got a man that's already given me both sexual attention and companionship and non-sexual attention and companionship. So they don't give a fuck. See, here's the two times free game for you that women don't mind being a slut. Number one, as I already mentioned, if a woman has at least one man in her life, if not multiple men, like say platonic male friends, providing her with non-sexual attention and companionship. I talked about that on at least a handful of videos over the last 5 years. Yeah, that's when a woman don't mind being a slut. A woman doesn't mind being a slut if she got at least one man, and even in some cases, multiple men that are already providing her with non-sexual attention and companionship. Number two, woman don't mind being a slut if she's being financially taken care of. Like she got a sugar daddy, a financially generous husband, etc. Woman's having her bills paid and she's being taken care of. She don't mind being a slut. She don't mind some people that she know calling her a slut. She could give a fuck. So yeah, that's the second most reason why women want to be married. So they can escape the label of slut, particularly older slut. And number two, so they can escape the label of spinster. That's probably the second worst thing that a woman could be categorized as next to a slut. Next to a slut and a whore is a spinster. Yeah, because when you're a spinster, if you're a woman and you get the label of spinster, that basically means that no man ever wanted to marry you. You couldn't find at least one man who wanted to marry you. You couldn't find at least one man who wanted to get you pregnant and raise children with you. And you couldn't even find a man who wanted to spend a number of years with you in a non-physical, non-sexual manner. Yeah, in other words, you couldn't even find a platonic boyfriend or platonic husband. That's what it means when you're a spinster, man. Yeah, once you get labeled a spinster, man, basically that means you're undesirable. That's like, when you're a woman and you get labeled a spinster, that's the same thing as saying you're an undesirable woman, at least for relationships. You might be desirable for like a one-night stand or a weekend fling with some guys, but for a long-term relationship, every man you've run across has considered you an undesirable companion. You're undesirable as a wife, a fiance, a long-term girlfriend, or a cohabitation partner. You're undesirable. You're undesirable as a mother to children. You're undesirable. Yeah, a lot of, I told y'all in the last video, man, my mother said in her day, man, shoot, that was most women's biggest fear, was being unmarried at the age of 35 and older. Yeah, was to be unmarried at the age of 35. Oh, she said all women in her generation, she said, wanted to be married ideally by no later than the age of 29, which I think is when my mother got married. Or was she 20? My mother was somewhere between 27 and 29 when she got married. Between 29 was the ideal latest to get married. And then she said the absolute latest most women want to be married is about the age of 35. Once you turn 36, that meant that 9 times out of 10, you was going to be a spinster, man. You was going to be a spinster. So anyway, that was number 2. To recap, reason number 3. Third most reason why women get married is so that they can have full and indefinite access to a man's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship. Women love men's non-sexual time, attention, companionship, many times more than their sexual attention and companionship. Women love men's non-sexual time, attention, and companionship. That's the third most reason why women get married. Fourth most reason why women get married in the event that they're not financially self-sufficient themselves is so that they can have their bills taken care of and have their overall lifestyle, quality of life upgraded and improved. That's the fourth most reason why women get married. And the fifth and final most reason why women get married is to have a man get them pregnant and help them take care of kids for at least the first 18 years of that kid's life. That's the fifth most reason why women get married, is to have a man in their life that's going to, number 1, get them pregnant, and number 2, help them stick around long enough to help them raise the kids. That's the 5 major reasons why women get married, man. That's the 5 top motivations for women. None of those reasons have to do, but yeah, I had some guys, man, at least a dozen guys wrote me and said, Alan, you didn't include true love because that ain't real. That ain't the reason why women get married. Women don't need to be married to be in a relationship to experience true love. A woman can stay in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship indefinitely and experience true love. She don't have to be married to experience that. Same with sexual satisfaction. No woman needs to be married to experience sexual satisfaction. Woman just can be single her entire life, from the time she's 18 to the time she's 58 or 68 years old, and experience sexual satisfaction without ever having a ring on her finger. Woman don't need a ring on her finger to experience sexual. Most women, particularly women who are reasonably attractive and have an above average degree of sex appeal, they can get good dick anytime they want to. Get it, got it good. Okay, last thing I'm going to talk about before I wrap up the video is, and I've been seeing guys making this comment ever since I got on YouTube over the last roughly 5 years. I've had guys make this comment that whenever people talk about the subject of a woman, in the manosphere, we're always talking about men being either alpha males or beta males, alpha males or beta males. But there's some people who will occasionally discuss alpha females versus beta females, alpha females versus beta females. And I noticed that there's always a small percentage of guys that will say comments along the lines of, man, there's no such thing as an alpha female. There's no such thing as an alpha female. There's no such thing as an alpha female. Really? Insert dog face here. Don't be naive and don't be stupid. Are you serious? Just recently, like within 3 or 4 days ago, I came across a live stream where the subject of women being alpha females got brought up, and a couple guys super chatted during the live stream. They said, I don't know why women keep bringing up this term alpha female. There's no such thing as an alpha female. There's no such thing as an alpha female. So, you telling me you don't think Hillary Clinton is an alpha female? Honestly, if you're familiar with Hillary Clinton, you don't think Hillary Clinton is an alpha female? You don't think Oprah Winfrey is an alpha female? I mean, really. Who else can I think of? Shoot. Even though Michelle Obama, is married to Obama, and most people consider Obama somewhat of an alpha male. Shit, you don't think Michelle Obama is an alpha female? I mean, seriously. Dude, I don't know where y'all getting this from where y'all say alpha females don't exist. Who do you think most beta males hook up with? Who do you think most beta males hook up? Beyonce. You don't think Beyonce is an alpha female? Really? I mean, really? Dude, there are a number of women in society who are alpha. There are a number of women in society that are alpha. Now, again, those terms aren't really usually applied that much in regards to women like they are men. But there are definitely women who are alpha. A lot of women who are married to beta males are alpha. I've known a lot of women over the years who dominated their husbands, browbeat their husbands. Where do you think the phrase, what certain guys would say, that woman right there, she wears the pants in her marriage, or she wears the pants in her relationship? That's the same thing as saying a woman is alpha. If you're willing to say that woman wears the pants in the relationship, that means she's alpha. Alpha females very much exist. Any woman like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton likes being in positions of power. Any woman that likes to be in a position of power, like wants to basically rule over men, she wants to be men's bosses, a man's political leader. If she's in armed services, she wants to be a female drill sergeant or something of the like. That's an alpha female, man. That's an alpha female. Any woman at maximum who likes dominating men, period, and at minimum loves dominating passive, subservient beta male types is an alpha female. In a nutshell. That's when you're an alpha female. If you're a woman and you like dominating men, period, in general, regardless whether they're alpha or beta, period, you just like dominating men, that means you're an alpha female. And at minimum, if you like dominating beta males, you might be submissive to alpha males, but you like dominating beta males. Alpha female. Hot wives. If y'all familiar with the term hot wife? There's an arrangement that combines elements of BDSM and elements of polyamory that's known as a bull hot wife cuckold arrangement. Bull hot wife cuckold arrangement. I ain't gonna say most, I'll say all. Any woman who operates as a hot wife gets some alpha tendencies. She has basically both. A hot wife would be an example of a woman who is both alpha and beta. Or to put it another way, both dominant and submissive. She's dominant with her cuckold and she's submissive to her bulls. That's what a hot wife is. A lot of sugar babies are like that. A lot of women who operate as sugar babies tend to have a blend of alpha qualities and beta qualities, or dominant qualities and submissive qualities. Here's where sugar babies are dominant. Sugar babies are dominant when it comes to money. When it comes to money, demanding financial favors from men, that's when they're dominant/alpha. And then when it comes to, allowing men to have sex with them, they're more beta and submissive. But yeah, if I had to compare, in my book, my Mode 1 audiobook and my Beta Male Revolution, I divide men into 4 archetypes. Total alpha male with beta traits, beta male with alpha traits, and total beta male. If I had to apply that to women, I've never done that in a book of mine, but if I had to transfer that to women, I'm going to give an example of each one. Let's start with total beta. If I had to transfer the concept of being a total beta from men to women, what would a total beta female look like? That would be a woman who's like a masochist or a low self-esteem doormat. That would be a total beta female. A woman who's like a masochist or a low self-esteem doormat type. That would be the female equivalent to a total beta. One other variation of a total beta female would be a woman who's just really, sad to say, just not attractive at all. She's like significantly overweight. Her face is unattractive. She has virtually no sex appeal. Not only do men not want to date her like in a relationship, but they don't even want to have casual sex with her. She's just totally undesirable. Physically and sexually undesirable. That woman would fall in the category of a total beta. Yeah, so those would be examples, real life examples of women that would fall in the category of the female equivalent to a total beta. The female equivalent to a beta with alpha traits, a female in that category would be like a street prostitute, call girl, escort. I just mentioned sugar baby. Basically, yeah, women who engage in a lot of pay for play. If a woman engages in pay for play sex, as opposed to just giving up sex regularly for free, that would be an example of a beta female with a few alpha traits. Is women who regularly engage in pay for play sex. Yeah, they'll behave in a manner that's feminine and submissive while they're having sex. But the alpha side of them is the part that's making you pay money for it. Then moving up to an alpha with a few beta traits, if I had to transfer that to women, that would be like a gold digger. Yeah, that would be like a gold digger or a woman who's married to a beta male, but she's having sex on the side with a more dominant alpha male. Or a hot wife, like I just talked about a few minutes ago. A woman that's a hot wife. She would fall in the category of alpha with a few beta traits. The alpha with a few beta traits. Yeah. The best examples of that would be a woman who's a hot wife in a bull cuckold hot wife arrangement, a woman who's a staunch gold digger type, or a woman who's a regular or semi-regular cheater, adulterer. A woman who's a cheater or adulterer would fall into that category. Total alpha for a woman would be like a woman who's a real dominant lesbian, a real dominant masculine misandrist, a woman who just likes to dominate men in their relationships or in the business world or the political world. Women who like to oversee men, have men being deferential to them and subservient to them. That's a total alpha, man. So yes. So for all those guys who say that there's no such thing as a alpha female, you're wrong on that. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Now, I will say this. If you're a dominant, masculine alpha male, you're probably not going to run into as many alpha females as, say, a guy who's more of a passive beta male type. So it might seem to you that there's no alpha females because women are going to respond to you differently because you're a dominant masculine alpha male. But trust me, if you're more of a beta male type guy, you're going to regularly run into alpha females. That's basically what a bitch is. I mean, if we're just going to keep it real and keep it real simple and blunt, that's basically what a bitch is. Surely you've seen men interact with a woman, and then after that conversation is over, that interaction is over, the man says, damn, that woman's a bitch. When you call a woman a bitch, that's the same thing as saying that woman's an alpha. She's a defiant alpha female. Nobody would call a woman who's ultra feminine, ultra obedient, ultra submissive a bitch. Why would you? If a woman's being feminine, obedient, and submissive while she's in your presence, why would you call her a bitch? I mean, think about it. Why would you call her a bitch? There would be no reason for you to call her a bitch. If a woman is always deferential and respectful towards you, ultra feminine around you, very obedient and submissive when she's in conversations with you, when you're socially interacting with her, why would you ever, ever, ever in life have a reason to call that woman a bitch?
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with AlanRogerCurrie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God! Man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. Yeah. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring AlanRogerCurrie to get my dirty talk game on, because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.
I love Audible because it's a lot of stress relief. It's a great escape.
So many great stories from amazing people. It makes me want to be better.
It changes your perspective. It makes you a different person.
See what listening to Audible can do for you.
BuzzFeed.com recently produced a list of 10 of the best and most controversial audiobooks that have influenced single, heterosexual men all across the world in what is known globally simply as the manosphere. Here are the top 10 audiobooks mentioned. Free Agent Lifestyle by Coach Greg Adams. The Game by Neil Strauss. How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. Models by Mark Manson. Mode 1 by AlanRogerCurrie. The Mystery Method by Eric von Markovic. No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi. The Unplugged Alpha by Richard Cooper. And The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. Also, a few additional books earned an honorable mention selection. Those audiobooks were Dating Essentials for Men by Dr. Robert Glover. Dating Techniques in the 21st Century Social Media Age by Alpha Male Strategies. The Myth of Male Power by Dr. Warren Farrell. No Free Attention by AlanRogerCurrie. The Tactical Guide to Women by Dr. Sean T. Smith. The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. Please visit Amazon.com and Audible.com to learn more about these controversial but yet informative audiobooks authored by these various manosphere self-help gurus.